Vietnam War was a long, costly armed conflict that pitted the communist regime of North Vietnam and its southern allies, known as Viet Cong, against South Vietnam and its principal ally, the United States. One aspect of the war that is overlooked is the citizens of Vietnam.
245,025 Vietnamese citizens fled the country seeking freedom. Also known as refugees, the Vietnamese people were fleeing the country because of communism. Many of them achieved their freedom and reacted to communism in Vietnam by taking their refuge.
The Cold War was one of the main causes of the Vietnam War. It was a war between the countries who believed in communism and the countries who believed in democracy. The South at the time believed in democracy, and the North had believed in communism. The split of political beliefs were due to World War II. North Vietnam was overrun by the Japanese. After the Japanese retreated, North Vietnam took charge of their government, which was led by the leader of the North, Ho Chi Minh. The Geneva Conference was held in Geneva, Switzerland, from April 26 to July 21, 1954, to end the hostilities in Indochina. The result was the Geneva Accords of 1954 that focused primarily on resolving the war between French forces and those of the Democratic Republic of Vietnam, led by Ho Chi Minh.
The conference included representatives from Great Britain, France, the People's Republic of China, the Soviet Union, the United States, the Democratic Republic of Vietnam, Laos, Australia, Cambodia, and South Vietnam. Discussion of the Indochina conflict began on May 8th, the day after the defeat of the French garrison at Dien Bien Phu. Because of the past conflicts the North and South had in Vietnam, this conference also divided Vietnam into North and South Vietnam.
Resulting from this divide was a mass migration of people from mainly North Vietnam to South Vietnam in order to escape from communist control. The Geneva Conference was a major catalyst of the Vietnam War, for it separated two sections of one country, giving power to two opposing political viewpoints. Communism is an economic and governmental system where everyone in a given society receives equal shares of the benefits derived from labor. It is designed to allow the poor to rise up and attain financial and social status equal to that of the middle-class landowners. In order for everyone to achieve equality, wealth is redistributed so that the members of the upper class are brought down to the same financial and social level as the middle class. Communism also requires that all means of production be controlled by the state. In other words, no one can own businesses or produce goods on their own because the state owns everything.
The government, in a perfect world, distributes this profit evenly to provide for its citizens. In most cases, though, the government keeps the money and provides as little as possible for its citizens. Communism destroys property rights and makes it impossible to make any profit. This leaves the citizens poor and living in horrible conditions while the government is affluent. Changes by the communists took place in Vietnam right after the fall of Saigon. Life in Vietnam when changes took place was horrible.
Theoretically, communism is supposed to relieve all the stress about worrying about paying the bills, putting food on the table, and providing for your family. In reality, it was different. Joe Tailgunner, who wrote the article The Failure of Communism in Vietnam, stated, "Vietnam was robbed of its ancient heritage and was forced to accept the culture of communism. Instead of a socialist paradise, they had tamed only poverty, hunger, and misery. North Vietnamese government officials did not want the Vietnamese to have their own thoughts or actions. They wanted to control everything they thought or did."
The ideals of communism failed in many other countries besides Vietnam. Initially, the beliefs of communist leaders were supposed to help their countries. On the contrary, many of the countries suffered extreme poverty.
Because of communism taking place in Vietnam, many had plans to escape their homeland. Refugees had to go through many obstacles to achieve their freedom. To do this, they had to escape by boat.
Để tổ chức cho chuyến đi thì đầu tiên phải kiếm người có ghe để hợp tác với họ, rồi kiếm những người có tiền để cùng chung nhau để có đủ tiền, đủ cái chi phí trong cái chuyến đi. Những cái chi phí như là mua xăng dầu.
They were leaving everything behind and they had nothing to go to or come back to if they had been caught. Attempting to escape was risky, because if caught, they would have no job, no home, and not a thing to go back to. Even if they succeeded, they would have to start their life over completely.
When I got to America, I was by myself, alone, and I stayed with a foster family. I stayed with them for the first 3 years.
Refugees started fleeing the country even before the fall of Saigon, and are still leaving today. The number of Vietnamese Americans in 1970 had reached 245,025, instantly making the fourth largest Asian American group. Life on the boats was not easy. Several people had to be crammed onto one small boat without any food, water, or supplies. The boats had to endure cold storms and high waves.
I came to America by escaping Vietnam. I was 14 years old at that time. I got onto a small fishing boat and we crossed the ocean. It took us 4 days. And we were picked up by the US Navy on the 5th day. And we got to Singapore. From Singapore, I came to the US.
The government in Vietnam is still in terrible condition. The corrupt government is still under communist rule. Citizens are outraged by the government and the police are still trying to control everything they do. A current example includes the sale of the Spratly Islands to China. Thousands of Vietnamese citizens protested the government's decision to sell this land, but the government responded to these protests with violence against innocent citizens.
Well, after the US left, the life back there was very difficult because communists control and you can't do anything around them. Everywhere you move somewhere, you have to ask the permission from the police to give you permission to move from one place to the other. And basically, it was very difficult to live under communist regime.
Currently, there are many that are supporting Loretta Sanchez, Congresswoman from the 47th District of California, with her fight to bring human rights to Vietnam and its citizens. This petition was most likely signed by refugees that were lucky enough to escape the horror that Vietnam faces today.
Some of the overall effects from the Vietnam War were that people could escape and sponsor others to come to countries like America. Today, there are Vietnamese communities in other countries all over the world. Vietnam today is still under communist rule, but many are being sponsored over by relatives and even by the United States.
Boat after boat, hundreds of thousands of men, women, and children had escaped Vietnam. They had finally reached their destination, freedom.